I got to spend time with this higher power. I had time to process what happened to me. And I felt like when I woke up in my spiritual awakening, like that I had received like just love and compassion, no matter what I had just fucking went through, which was like, I felt forgiven. I felt a weight lifted up off of me. I felt like that was all in the past. That was done. None of that was with me anymore.
This is the Knockin' Doorz Down podcast, featuring celebrities, experts, and everyday people who have overcome adversities, including addiction, mental health, and trauma, to live purposeful lives. And that's what Knockin' Doorz Down is all about. This is the Knockin' Doorz Down podcast. Your host, Jason, here. I am an addiction recovery and mental health advocate. I want to knock out the shame and stigma surrounding those that are in need of help to speak up and use their adversities to inspire others to do the same. My guest, Jerzey Mike Faria. Mike and I have been trying to connect for a long time. Mike struggled with alcoholism much like myself, and some very parallel stories. But Mike's alcoholism took him to the depths of despair and actually put him in a coma for 3 weeks. I know you're going to find so much value out of Mike's story when he shares the challenges of childhood, not having a present male figure and rebelling in his youth, as well as what he's doing now and inspiring others through the recovery process. Now, as a single father, Mike is building a life for himself and his kids and finding his purpose. Speaking of purpose, how about a lifestyle brand with a purpose? 5150 LTM. I have my new 5150 hat on. Also, recently, I picked up some other swag from the 5150 store. This time of year, I like to throw on some comfortable joggers, and I like to throw on a comfortable long sleeve as well. Not only do I like the 5150 style, but like I said, it's a brand with a purpose. And as always, you, the listeners and viewers of Knockin' Doorz Down, use the code KDD20 at checkout at the 5150 store and get 20% off your purchase. Here's Jerzey Mike Faria. Jerzey Mike, what's going on, bro?
What's good, brother? How's everything?
Good. It's only been like, 7, 8, 9 months in the works to get this conversation going.
Yeah, man. Yeah, back and forth, both of us fucking busy running around. And it's like when the energy was there, we were like ready, and then some shit. And then, you know, that's how it is, though.
Life gets in our way, especially when we're building one, man.
That's
I
right.
got to share the joke we had before we got on this is you got the very cool Dare shirt on. And of course, Dare to keep kids off drugs. And we were joking about how it probably didn't help and maybe even the opposite.
Yeah, man. I think so. If I remember back in that program and me and my cousins, it was like it was kind of like a little bit of a joke, man, especially when we got to like 13, 14 years old. It was like a little bit the center of attention and like the easy thing to go to break the rules, like fucking dares everywhere. Why not? Let's go fuck around, you know?
Yeah, when we're at our most stupid, right?
That's right.
Oh, hell. Well, Mike, we're going to get in all over the place with some stuff, but, I want to talk a little bit about, your backstory. You just mentioned there getting in trouble with some cousins and stuff like that. But like, what was childhood like for you? I mean, where was the disconnect? Did you feel the, like so many of us, that like an outsider from the early age?
I did, man. My disconnect, I guess, was, I didn't have a very strong male figure to really kind of, had to teach me how to do shit right. My dad was around, but he was just a very hard worker. He was never home. And back in those days, like that lifestyle, he'd get out of work and go drinking. It was like that was the deal back then. It was very normal fucking thing. And my disconnect was like rebelling against that. I guess I sought out for this creation of this tough ego to kind of keep me safe, keep me keep me secure. Um, and in doing that, I'm a very all in person, and I went all in, and then comes all the shit, man. The big disconnect was learning to cope at such a young age, rebelling and fucking using drugs and shit and alcohol, all that stuff.
Yeah. What point did like substances because I can talk right now, shit, did substances enter your life?
I want to say, man, like to up into eighth grade, I was in a Catholic school, went to public school in eighth grade, and when I got to that public school, I was like die hard fucking dare. I keep the fucking joints away from me, man. You guys are fucked up. Why are you smoking pot and shit? And I guess I was scared of it. In Catholic school they instilled so much shit in us, and towards the end of eighth grade was a party, and I drank it was my second time drinking, but it was like my first time that I was drunk and enjoying myself, and I smoked at that party. And after smoking at that party, I felt like I had such a good time socially. I had released like this fucking inner fucking fire inside of me that I had going on for so long. It felt so good to release in that way that I'd say like around 13 was when I started smoking weed, drinking, and was living in Florida. So in Florida, it's like you jump right away to cocaine pretty fast. It's like that's how it was. Like freshman year, that's what we were kind of rocking out. Alcohol was a part of that too, but was a lot of coke in high school, towards early high school, and right at that age, man, young.
Wow. Yeah, I could relate to what you were saying, was that fear. And I hadn't thought about this, but being in eighth grade, when I went from private school, seventh grade, eighth grade, public school, and before a basketball game, we go back to a teammate's house and he cracks open a beer. His parents aren't there. And there's like 6 of us. And I'm the only one that's like, no, and didn't take a sip, because even though my parents weren't talking that my dad was an addict, inside I could feel it, and so my fear took me all the way till about 20, 21, 22. So, but
Nice.
Man, damn, cocaine in freshman year. Yeah, Florida was just, so this was what, late 90s?
This is like 90, 98.
Okay.
98, 97, 98. And it was just the thing out there, man. I went through heavy cocaine addiction freshman year, sophomore year. It was like me and my buddies started stealing. I went to a Catholic school in Daytona. My mom pulled me out of, she had me in Catholic school, put me in public school. I started fucking around. She put me back in it. Sophomore year, like, please God, what I do? And it was even worse, because in that Catholic school was a lot of rich kids. And the difference of public school and Catholic school, especially with the kids that had a lot of money there, was like everybody was doing coke, or everybody had money, and it was an addiction at sophomore year. Because me and my buddy, we'd go around to these different lockers. It used to be an old hotel, and they made it into a school. So all the classrooms are basically like a hotel. There's steps and a little like stairway upstairs, and then just a door. Like it would be a hotel room, but it's a classroom. And at lunchtime, we'd go around to all the different lockers. All the kids would have their locker backpacks out there, and we'd go around to all the backpacks, pick up a backpack, go into the bathroom, fucking go through it, take whatever we could get, bring the backpack back over, grab the next one, rotation, do that over and over and over again. And that's how we fucking rocked out our addiction for a long time.
Yeah, so you were already scheming and planning and had your way to survive, and like you said, really protect that that little kid that didn't have that male guidance.
Yeah, because I felt very masculine in doing all that shit.
Sure.
You know, I felt strong. I felt powerful. I felt in control. I felt secure. But and I wasn't reaping the I wasn't reaping all the fucking the repercussions of the substance abuse. You know, my brain was so fresh and young. It was just like um all new, you know, like taking it all in, like sensory overload. But I knew when we were going through backpacks and all that shit and stealing to that point, that the shit was becoming a problem, you know, like what the
Yeah.
fuck are we doing here, man? We ended up getting caught. I got caught one day. Um, and we were stealing from a fucking buddy of a buddy of my buddies. I didn't even know. It was just we'd go to whatever backpacks. Fucking football dude. My buddy was on the football team that we'd steal with. This other guy comes out, sees us doing it, goes crazy. Me and him get into a thing, and you know I got suspended. Um, this is like a quick little fucking thing. I get suspended, and this is back in the '90s. I go home and I'm all upset, and I get online, and me and this kid are talking shit back and forth, and I fucking tell him, "Yo, dude, you know we're going back and forth. He's calling me names. I'm like, next when I see you, I'm gonna fucking kill you, bro." And, you know, he prints this thing out and takes it to the school the next day, and the fucking this is right after like right around Columbine time. And fucking the goddamn SWAT team shows up at my goddamn house,
Wow.
fucking going through a bunch of shit. And I was like, man, I wasn't serious, you know. And
Yeah.
my I moved to New Jersey. My mom was so embarrassed. She's like, we're getting the fuck out of here. You know,
So where were you born then? Because you ended up in Daytona, then to Jersey, but where were you born?
I was born in Jersey and lived in Jersey till seventh grade. And then my parents were having issues and we moved to Florida, lived there for the couple of years and got in so much trouble. And we came back to Jersey.
Well, you have a lot of family there.
No, we had no family in Florida. Just my dad had bought a house there a long time ago when I was younger. And when they had issues, like we just utilized the house, went over there.
Gotcha. So you come back to Jersey. Uh, I've been there. I went there in the late '90s. Good place to stay out of trouble.
Fucking Jersey. Jersey. It's a you know most densely populated state. It's a mess over here too. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a friend who lived in Patterson, New Jersey, and it was funny because he's like, "Yeah, there's more dead people here than alive because I guess it's where the cemeteries are or something." But
Yeah.
so you jump back. What's this like your junior year?
Yeah. End of sophomore year, going into junior year, I get back to Jersey.
And how did things go from there? Are we still kind of, did you get cleaned up for a little bit or?
Nah, I got back and you know, kept partying. Um, you know, obviously through all of this, I'm going to school, you know, and I was doing good in school. I was I was in all not all, there was maybe one or two. I was in a majority of a lot of AP classes and I did well in school because if I didn't do good in school, my mom wasn't gonna let me go out and party. So it's like I started to learn how to almost be a functioning addict in my teenage years because I needed to learn to sustain this lifestyle at school and produce and be responsible and then also, you know, go fucking crazy when I had my free time. Um, but yeah, I just continued experimenting, man, and trying other shit. You know, everything up, you know, around the sun except heroin. That wasn't something that I could ever do, and like needles and stuff. But just party mode, you know. That's how I was through high school.
Yeah. And I find it's funny you mentioned the needle thing. Isn't it ironic as two dudes with a good amount of tattoos? We both hate needles. Like,
Yeah,
I've had
yeah,
people ask
yeah.
me, like, because I've talked about it that, I've different pills and things like that, but, blow and things. But I was like, for whatever reason, this brain, the only thing that really went, I want more of that is alcohol. And, somebody was like, oh, were you ever presented heroin? You had to snort it, but I never did. But, I said, no, I'm good. But shooting anything, man, that scared that scared the shit out of me.
Me too.
Like I don't have a problem because I'm not injecting anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, dude. That's with the needles and the tattoos. I enjoy the pain of that. The injection part of something entering my vein scares the fuck out of me, especially a drug. It's just I'm good.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I knew this about you. I could tell from kind of getting to know you, a very intelligent person, like you said, doing really good, mostly AP classes, and from the outside, I'm sure for most it looked really good. But hey, high school comes to an end. Where do we go from there?
From there, I tried college out for a little bit. That wasn't something that lasted long. My my focus went to try to work with music. I learned how to produce music and had fun with that just for a little bit. But that's when alcohol started to get real big, like right around that time. Um, a little bit later, I'd say in 4 or 5 years later, man, it was a heavy hit that I took. I lost a cousin of mine. And throughout that time, it went from high school party mode and this like really, really fun life that I wasn't dealing with many consequences from. And then out of high school, entering this adulthood that I don't know how to manage shit. And I don't know how to really be responsible with my emotions. Even my emotions were all over the fucking place. And I was just a fucking mess. But this was the first time that instead of the party mode, now I'm like drinking because I'm mad. I'm drinking because I'm upset. And I'm drinking because I'm frustrated. Life isn't working for me. I gotta fucking figure out shit. I'm an adult now. All this like shit that was just I really wasn't prepared for. I was so focused on myself and good times through high school. I didn't really give a shit about any of that stuff. And when I lost my cousin, but even before that, that's when like I just got so accustomed to alcohol being my go-to. That was my go-to. Like I'm mad, go drink. I'm upset, go drink. I'm happy, go drink. I'm celebrating. Every fucking emotion was a nice reason to drink. And if I wasn't, it was because I was trying to be responsible like I was when I was a teenager in my responsibilities and separate both times so I can, be successful in some way.
Boy, does that sound familiar, right? That girl split up with you. Oh, let's go have a drink. Let's go drink it off. Hey, I met a new girl. Cool. Bring her out to the bar. It's like whatever it was always that thing, man, I can relate. Hey, it's lunchtime. Let's go have a drink. I mean, shit, it got to that point, it's like, damn, crazy. So the booze is the flowing thing, and I totally know where you're at. Did you ever have a point, and I hit this point, but it didn't really sink in for a while. I started to realize I was drinking because I hate myself, and I hate myself because I was drinking. And it's that addict loop that just goes around and round, because the only thing that would silence that self-hate would be another 6-pack at least. You know what I'm saying?
Nope. I did. And especially when I found out I had a son on the way. But I felt that even before, beforehand, all those blacked out nights, man, just create such a darkness. They create such a fucking massive amount of resentment. At least they did for me. Yeah. They made me fucking hate being in my own skin, man. It was just like I was dating a failure, and that failure was myself, and I let myself down every fucking day. And I was just like, this dual personality of like judging myself and then telling that judging side to go fuck itself when I felt like I was in this mood to go drink,
Yeah. No, I do all too well. And I can relate to what you mean about when I found out my son was on the way, and it wasn't, I look back and go like, man, wasn't that enough to like take it serious? But the traumas were already there. There's already so much, and there's so much of that self-shame, guilt, you know, the multitude of it all that just stacks on. And like he said earlier, when you don't have coping tools to kind of, extrapolate little parts and learn how to, either heal or accept and move forward, you don't have a solution.
You don't, and you kind of bury it. You have a couple of drinks, you bury it in a way. For me, when I would drink a lot of times too, I'd be aggressive, and I'd let out this built up shit that was in me, and then, I guess feel better in a sense at the time. And then the regret seemed lighter than the other load. It was like exchanging fucking, the regret was a little bit lighter than the shit that I was upset about or frustrated with, like.
Yeah, I do, man. I really do. I think that I even wrote something to myself about that recently, like sitting there, hacking through something. Let me ask you, so fatherhood enters, what's kind of the status there with things of how, I mean, I know it, being an addict and a parent at the same time, man, it's tough. It's tough to be there for that baby.
I was freaking out, I was scared. I'm like, am I gonna do this? I couldn't manage my own fucking life, nonetheless. I'm like, now there's a baby coming, but in a way it was my saving grace too, because I took a first step in my life to get sober at that time. And I went to a religious retreat, and it was somewhat of a failure and a success because I brought a bunch of alcohol there, hidden on me. I had like fucking pints of vodka duct taped on my legs so I could try to make it through the weekend. And it didn't last. I drank everything literally by the first day. So it was like a 3-day deal. So I started freaking out, and I spoke with a guy there that kind of just brought me to light. He got me through my withdrawal through like the 2 days there. And it was just through a lot of talking. I was freaking out there, man. At one point I went outside of the retreat and I was ready to run through the woods. We didn't know where we were. We were brought like in a little bus where we couldn't see anything. I was ready to go, but he got me through it. And after that, I stayed sober for about a year, man. My son was born, and it was crazy. It was like my whole life changed in that year. I got a good job. I started getting into construction, drilling, and so many good things started to happen. And then after that year, I felt like I crawled out of what I went there for. I'm like, I got this, I can go have a fucking drink. And that's what I did. And the drinking was always like a fucking issue at least once or twice or three it was always a fucking problem. As much as I tried to make it moderate, it just was always some kind of issue in my life. It was always fucking with my relationship with the mother of my kids, my friends, my parents, my sister. It just made life so much harder,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't mean, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing, thinking back like, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, man. I could just almost change seats with you. It's that crazy thing about it too, that we try that moderation. It's weird that the AA book, Dr. Bill and Bob, they were on something of clarity, because they just nail it. It's like, all right, I'll switch from hard alcohol to beer. All right, well, beer is kind of kind of it's beer. So I'll switch to wine because it's a little more classic. Well, I kind of hate wine. I'll go back to beer. It's this weird, messed up game that we play with ourselves as the addict alcoholic. Like, the moderation, there's never going to be. One's too many and all of it's never enough.
Yeah, man. It's just something that I was always convincing myself, like always trying to convince myself, like you said. Even though for me, most of the part, I was always a liquor drinker. I never enjoyed the taste of alcohol. I never drank because I was like, man, this is so fucking delicious. It's very rare that I got a drink at a restaurant or something that I really enjoyed, even though I had some. But for the most part, it was always something on the rocks, something I enjoyed the heavy shit because I wanted to fulfill its purpose, which wasn't just to taste good in my mouth. At least for me, man, that's how it was with alcohol, and just everything became so fucking unmanageable, I'd say, after about like 7-8 years, man. 2019 is like where life just fucking smacked me, man. It just it all started to unfold and fucking fall apart in front of my eyes, and I just drank and watched the fucking show happen.
No, and I've heard some people, and I can relate to with the taste, especially the hard stuff with alcohol. Is just my thing was, all right, I'll get through the first couple of sips, and then when the buzz kicks in, like that part of you that goes, oh, it will go away, and so it was always a fight through that part. For me, every time with hard alcohol, it doesn't matter. It was like, oh, okay. Then I get to that point, it's like, oh no, everything's fine now. Give me another one, keep them coming. Like, fuck, thinking back about like scotch. I had a friend that, his thing was like scotch on the rocks, like the nastiest shit. Like if I smell it now, I almost want to puke. Like, how did I ever put this poison in my body? Anyways, 2019, man, falls apart. Where are we at? Because did we return to some not that alcohol isn't a hard drug. I hate kind of that separation of it. But were you then once again using other drugs?
Nah, after my son was born and I started working in construction, I just fucked with alcohol because we were always drug tested. That was too much of a fucking risk for me. I couldn't fuck with that. So it's like society set it up for me in a way that the only release I could fuck with was alcohol, right? And I took very much advantage of that. And the hardships that came, I guess, in 2019 were from years and years of a relationship with two people that were drinking. Shit turned toxic, and it came back to bite us in the fucking ass. Like we were unhappy. I was unhappy with the mother of my kid. She was unhappy with me, and a lot of shit just kind of led to a point where I was binge drinking to like I never ever was before. It was fucking crazy, man. I was drinking a lot because as far as work wise, I was in a very successful place. I had built that side of my my half of my life very well, and the other half of my personal life I let fall apart. We let a lot of that shit fall apart in our relationship, because that's what kind of, to me, was like the ultimate heartbreak, was like my fucking family falling apart. It was like, fuck, man, like this was keeping me together in even through all the shit with alcohol through all those years. It was like my fighting force. It was my life force. It was what pushed me every day. It was what my spark to live was my family. And when I saw that shit going down the toilet, I was like, fuck, nothing else really matters, man. And I couldn't cope. I couldn't talk to anybody about it really, you know. It was just hard shit to deal with.
Yeah. What was the breaking point for you when you were decided, hey, I've got to get this out of my life. I need help.
I guess when I woke up from my coma, I never asked. I never went for help.
Right.
I never reached out. One, I don't think I wanted to stop drinking whatsoever. You know, I didn't want to face that monster at that time. And two, I was fucking embarrassed. You know, I was fucking embarrassed as shit about what I was uh going through. More so my family falling apart than the drinking. You know, the embarrassment of that and feeling like a failure.
Yeah.
And that was like it when things got to a point that me and the mother of my kids were split up and still living together and just couldn't fucking figure out a peaceful separation. And I felt like I felt like I was a prisoner in my own fucking house. I felt fucking all kinds of crazy shit that was going on that I felt like I was losing my mind, man. You know, I really felt like I was losing it. And the only thing that would kind of stop and let me slow down and kind of feel okay, I guess, was drinking.
Yeah.
But it got to a point at that time with that kind of binge drinking that it was like never before. I started to break out in different things in my body, like these massive welts and hives and shit, and vomiting all kinds of like foam and throwing up fucking black coffee grounds and just weird shit you don't see your body do, not normal shit.
Yeah.
And I kept fucking drinking, kept fucking going hard with that shit, and took off work. I got out of work while I was having, I guess this was like somewhat of a mental breakdown, I guess, you know, with everything else. It wasn't just the alcohol. The alcohol was like my pillow, you know. And I while I was off and drinking all day long, and sleeping most of the day too, I was comatose a lot. I fucking woke up one morning and big yellow eyes, you know, big bird yellow eyes, and I was fucking enormous, man. I was like, I was sick. I looked sick. I looked like I was fucking dying, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know you don't know that part, but
no, I know what you're talking about. I have seen it and known people that have gone through it, and unfortunately some that didn't get on the other side. For me, like near the end, I've gone back and looked at photos where it's like people might think like, oh, no big deal. But if I look, like my head got bloated, like my face got really, really bloated. You know, I was skinny everywhere else, but with my gut, like, you know, and it got hard. So it was the, you know, the hardening of the liver starting and all this shit. And, you know, yeah, it's crazy to look back because some of the photos, I'm like, boy, I did a good job of lying that I was happy. Like I'm, you know, in photos with like famous people, musicians and athletes and stuff. And I was like, I was so miserable, but I wasn't going to let anyone know. I didn't want to burden anyone, was how it was for me. I'm not going to burden anyone with my problems.
Do you ever think back to that time? Because I do, like looking in when I look at myself back then, like how the fuck, like you just kind of said it, like how the fuck were we kind of able to look at ourselves and be like, nothing's wrong?
Yeah.
Like everything's okay.
You know, I mean,
if you are a person that classifies addiction as a disease, I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. It's like how ill could we be? You know, I mean, it's like the big book promise, you will be restored to sanity. It is an illness. Like where you're talking about the prisoner in your own home. I got the chills. I knew exactly what you were talking about. For me, at the end, prior to my divorce, I was sleeping on a hard floor on a fucking yoga mat. And every night, the method was to make myself pass out. And the only way I could do that was if I got enough in me. And so I got pretty good about hiding the beer. I wasn't sharing any of this shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like, you know, you're a prisoner in your own home, but yet you want the home to be something different. Like I didn't picture parenthood and marriage to be something where I just felt like shitty about it at all. But I did.
Very well said, man. Holy shit. You went through it. You went through it too then. So fuck. It's not easy, man. It's not easy being in that position for anybody, you know. And I felt like I carried the guilt in that too, you know. I felt like in my head, I felt just guilty. I had I hated myself, man. I was like, I felt like a failure. I felt like I fucked everything up. Like I let everybody down. I fucked everything up. And it was just hard to kind of be inside of my body at that time. You know, it was difficult. And when I was drinking at that point and while throwing up all this black shit, not fucking eating, not going to the bathroom for weeks, I drink till my thoughts would like slow down and I wouldn't feel bad about what was going on and just sit and peacefully fall asleep. You know, it wasn't, that's literally what I just had on repeat over and over and over and over and over. Well, mind you, like while this is happening, I don't know about the things that are happening to me. I don't even know these things are possible. Like I didn't know about hepatic encephalopathy, and I didn't know that, you know, I thought you just like went to cirrhosis and all of these things. Like I didn't know that you could slowly fucking shut your liver down in just such a painful fucking torturous process the way I was doing, you know. It was fucked up.
Well, yes, it was fucked up, Mike. There's no other way to put it. And so this is when you know, you got to a point where the next thing you know, like you said, 2019, you're waking up from a coma.
You know, they woke up from a coma, and that was, you know, when you asked my changing point, which I've had a lot of struggles since that changing point, but my life altering mode was like that coma, that sleep I had waking up, man, just it gave me new eyes, you know, like towards life. It gave me a new appreciation. I felt like I had died, man. Like, you know, I felt like while I was in my coma going through all of these different experiences, I felt like I was trapped in a place that I wasn't coming out of, you know? And when I came out of it, the feeling, you know, I say this all the time, it was like being reborn. It was like I was conscious of having been in this other place while asleep, and then being given another chance to come back into this place. And when I woke up and I put everything together, it was just like the most magical rebirth, man. It was such a gift. It was fucking, you know, everything. It's like a moment that I hold on to today. That's like a pusher for me, you know?
Yeah. Do you think for you it was I always thought it would be horseshit where they talked about in the AA big book a spiritual awakening. I was like, what the fuck is that? Okay. If there is a God out, this was my thinking then. If there is a God out there, and I believe that there is, but it sure doesn't love me or have a purpose for me.
It was 100% a spiritual awakening. It I woke up feeling like, you know, I got to spend time with this higher power. I had time to process what happened to me, and I felt like when I woke up in my spiritual awakening, like that I had received like just love and compassion, no matter what I had just fucking went through.
Yeah.
Which was like, I felt forgiven. I felt a weight lifted up off of me. I felt like that was all in the past. That was done. None of that was with me anymore. And that's how I felt when I woke up. There I am, 270 pounds, and I feel lighter than I ever have in my entire life on that bed.
Good God, you got yourself up to 270?
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah. That was from bloating, you know,
Right.
in the hospital and all that shit, you know, no fluids going out of me, fucking, yeah, 270, man.
Good God, man. I mean, yeah, it's yeah, how could you not? You know, just you sharing that. I how could you not see that as a spiritual moment, a gift? How long were you under, if I can ask?
A little over 3 weeks I was asleep.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah. So it's probably, you know, I'm guessing, you know, I mean, doctors are smart. So you're undergoing through the your body DTing, I guess, in a certain aspect. And holy shit, Mike. Well, I'm glad that you're here for one. You know,
Thank you.
and hearing that kind of restores, not a restore, wrong word, solidifies more of my faith that there is something greater than us. You know, we call it a higher power, whatever you want to call it. God, got the damn chills, man. So hey, we come out of the coma. What's next? What's after that? I mean, I'm guessing at this point, kids are with their mom, and you know, there's probably some troubles that come because once we get sober, doesn't mean problems go away.
Yeah, man. What came next was I got sent home to recover at home because COVID had just landed. This is walking into 2020, late January. And they were like, you got to recover at home, or else if you get COVID, if the odds are you'll pass away with your immune system and everything. So was months of like recovery, learning how to walk again, all of that fun, good stuff. Take care of myself, you know. Being asleep that long, like I couldn't walk for a while, and just the procedures and things that were performed on me. Was just a lot of healing. But then, like you said, you know, it was a lot of life struggles. Still had to figure out the separation that I just went down for, you know. It was like, oh, hey, shit, man, fucking wake up from a coma and everything I was dealing with is still here. This is some shit. And let's figure it out. And let's try to do this a different way. And it things started to work out better with me sober at that time. Like recovering and healing, I was able to figure out things with the mother of my kids. I still had my kids. She had figured her things out and went her way. My kids were such a big part of my recovery. They were with me. They were being homeschooled because of COVID, and I was doing all of that with them at home while recovering. And through that time, after like 3-4 months, was like I had lost all the weight. My eyes were white. um, the doctors I kept telling me, like, listen, man, like, if you live, if your liver doesn't give out because we believe you're going to need a transplant, if all of these good things happen, it's going to take a couple years, for like 2-3 years, for your eyes to completely clear up and all of these things. And it's like 3.5 months, and I was like fresh. I was like, holy shit, man, I'm fucking rejuvenated, and my liver's working again. It's back to full function. And I felt like I had everything in order again.
Right.
Okay. I felt like I had everything in order again. I had just spent 4 months, almost 4 months inside of the house with my kids, getting better, and started to go back into this cuckoo game in my head, of approaching life now with this second chance and a different perspective. And at that time, I'm like getting back into the dating scene and going back into doing things socially and going out. And when my doctor had told me that my liver was back to normal function, I still had this feeling that I held on to, that like, I don't know what's going to happen with me long term with this situation. My liver is working normal function, but what does that really fully mean? I felt like my odds, even though my liver was back at normal function, my odds were still against me from everything that had just happened. I was pretty traumatized from the experience I had. And even though I looked better and I felt better, I still had this like lingering death following me feeling. And I wanted to like meet girls again and go have a good time and like build my confidence up. And I did. And I did like almost like a little bucket list trip with my friend, and went out partying, and I drank again, and dabbled in that shit for like 2 months. I was out in Florida going to different clubs and parties and stuff, because New York and Jersey were all shut down. And my mentality was like, I just spent so much fucking time upset and so fucking sad and all this other shit. And then I got to feeling so great after recovering and feeling sober. I was like, I felt like I didn't know how to manage what was coming at me, which was going back into social life, as a single dad now.
Yeah. Oh, dude, dating sober as a single parent sucks.
What the fuck?
Oh, the worst, man. And it's like, and of course, me as a people pleaser, I'd be like, they're like, oh, are you fine if I have something to drink? Oh yeah, of course. No, I wasn't. I was not fine. It was the worst shit, because guess what? If I didn't drink in front of you, I went home and then hid the fact that I did,
Yeah.
And it's like, God, what, so like my last relapse, which will be, I'll be 2 years on February 15th, was just like, I got to learn freaking boundaries. I got to learn boundaries, and with myself, like, no, I cannot date anyone that drinks or uses. I am not here to be snorted either. Like, I'm not your solution in life. I had to learn all these things about myself that I wasn't willing to accept, because I'm like you. I like being social with people. I liked sitting there bullshitting and talking, especially when I'd have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or more women's attention, talking. So I was like, I had to check my fucking ego at the door.
Yeah, man. And same with me. I guess that I very, very, very much felt like that. I in that same scenario, I was like a people pleaser. but I think in that moment, man, when I was dating, which was after like the little hurrah I had in Florida, I want to say like I really felt like like I knew what I was doing was incredibly dangerous. You know, this is very like I was just asleep 4 months earlier for almost a month, and now I'm out in a fucking massive hotel party, you know, fucking popping bottles of champagne and acting a fool. And that shit would hit me sometimes, you know, like what the fuck. And I knew what I was doing was dangerous. I knew it was fucked up. But I felt like at that time it was it was what I needed to get whatever the fuck out of me that I needed to get out of me. I don't know what it was, or learn what I needed to learn is a better way to explain it, because I didn't know how to kind of face the social life without drinking. And it it ran around circles for a fucking minute. And then there was a night that I was sick. That night was a fucking scary night. There was a night that I was sick. I had just spent like fucking 3 days straight in New York City, having a fucking great time and feeling like a fucking asshole when I got home. And then I started puking all over the place. And when I start puking all over the place, I was like, nah, I can't do this again, man. I can't fucking go down, you know. I it was like a flashback of just everything that I went through. You know, I was in the bathroom with the door closed, crying and shit, and fucking breaking down like, what the fuck are you doing all over again? You fucking got away with fucking death, and here you are, like, what the fuck are you doing? I was very, very upset with myself and that shit, and that sat with me for a little bit. um I ended up in the next couple of weeks meeting somebody that was like a positive influence in my life, and that person didn't drink. It was like kind of the first person I would say that was involved in my life that didn't that didn't drink, that I could hang with.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, fucking cool. This is different. And it was like a saving grace at the right time in my life, because I needed it. I needed a friend. I needed someone who uh didn't fucking drink and could be supportive and all of that, you know?
Yeah.
Um and what I was given with that was the opportunity, like, to start learning new ways to cope, you know, like uh this person I was in a relationship with, I'm not with them no more, but I started to do things with them, like fucking read and go for these like nature walks, looking for fucking sunrises and sunsets, that like just kind of fulfilling whatever my imagination could fucking come up with that didn't involve alcohol, because it was nice to have a friend to fucking go ride out and do it with, you know? And it was like, it didn't seem so hard. It didn't seem so scary either, you know?
Yeah. No, I do, man. Because I'm there now, you know, like having an actual, I never thought I'd have an actual partner. Like I didn't even know what that meant. Like to be in a relationship where, you know, for me, I always thought it, you know, like as a man, like that tough thing to open up. And, you know, if I do that, then even then she's going to think that I'm a pussy and, you know, all these things. And like, if I go, I'm like, man, I had a tough day, or I'm at the point, like, I don't think about drinking as a solution, but I will still have some of those flashback thoughts and they're really uncomfortable. And, you know, and I can share it and it's protected, it's nurtured. And, the weird shit about me is as well, like, I'm a 44-year-old that if I had spare money for myself, I'd be going to buy another Star Wars Lego set tonight. I mean, I'm just like to have that person that digs it, and it's like, no, it's like, it's cool to see you, enjoy you, like life, like simple joy,
Yep.
that I never thought I would have. I thought I would have to be altered, in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, man. That's what I started to get that too. And that was really nice. It was refreshing. It was um again, I felt like coming out of this alcohol thing when I was just having problems again. I'm like feeling like I'm finding myself there, and then I get in this and I'm like, man, this is where it's at. I'm finding myself here. Here is really where I'm like finding some shit. And as I through throughout the time, I guess, in healing sober, and this is just how I feel about myself, and looking back in the times that I had my crazy shit going on, I just always felt and feel now like a great appreciation for those times. I don't look back and say I wish I didn't. Like, no, I'm happy it happened that way, and I'm happy that it worked out that way. I have a very, very um, particular perspective towards the healing I'm going through and towards alcohol because of these things that happen. And as much as they suck and they do set me backwards when getting through it with the clarity and perspective I have today, it's like it shifts me 10 steps forward, even though it brought me however many steps back.
Mhm.
It, the relationship and the person that I was with didn't last, but a lot of things that I was able to learn, a lot of things that I was able to take from that, it's like I carry with, I kept on reading. I kept on enjoying myself like a kid, like sitting at the fucking park or going for walks or hikes. Like I just very much indulge in a lot of the stuff that I learned. And even though it was very hard to apply all of that to my individual life and doing it alone, um, it, it it stuck with me, and it's just a lot of I've been using those things to help get me by still till this day.
Yeah. Well, and you share it, if whoever's, someone, if you're watching, listening, whatever it is, Mike's social links are in the podcast description there. And you drop some stuff from time to time that, hey, it helps me, man, being vulnerable and honest and open. And it's like I try to tell people, and I had this discussion, matter of fact, last night, that like being vulnerable and open doesn't kill your masculinity. Burying all that shit down is going to kill it and make you an asshole at the same time. It's good to be open with these feelings, because I don't know about you. I don't want to rage anymore. I don't want to go like just be angry all the time. There's still things that make me angry, of course, but I don't want to sit in that constantly. I don't want to bottle it up. I don't want to be this thing that's seen, not heard, or not even seen in some instances. I can't live life that way.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you're right. Being vulnerable doesn't make you any less anything. I'll tell you what. For me, it makes me more powerful, man. It makes me feel stronger. It makes me feel like I've let out. Like when I want to fucking cry, I cry, and I feel better afterwards. I got rid of this shit. I got it out of me, and not only did I get it out of me, now I'm empowered by the fact that I got it out of me. I feel lighter, lighter, and I'm not carrying. I feel lighter, like as if I took something, but I'm not carrying the regret of taking something.
Right.
You know, I'm fucking processing this shit. I'm feeling it. I'm fucking letting it pass through me. And that's a major part of what helps me want to stay sober is facing all my shit. Like being transparent and facing my shit allows me to sit with myself, no matter how much shit it is.
Right.
If I start to tuck stuff away, I start to feel resentment again. I start to feel like my experience was my spiritual experience was so intense. I don't live in a fucking way like, oh, no one's watching. Nah, fuck out of here. Fucking universe is watching. There's a lot fucking watching, and I'm living my life with the best intentions that I can, you know, and I'm trying to be in the best state of mind that I could be in. And I found that facing my past demons and the demons I face today, and by not being scared to have to tuck them away, has allowed me to feel powerful in that. You know, it's just it's just always there as my push to keep going forward. I'm not putting anything away. You know, when I had surgery, I had diverticulitis over the summer, and before that, I lost my uncle, and I went out one night and I knew I was going to have a drink. I knew I was going to go out one night, have a drink. I was mad. I was very pissed off, and it was a shitty night. I had my cell phone stolen, crappy night. Woke up the next day and was mad at myself for a little bit, but gave myself mercy, man, gave myself grace, like put myself back on track in the aspect of like, I just knew at that time, if I would have held maybe that shit, I don't know. But for me, if I would have held that shit, I don't know what would have went bigger at that time. Like for me, sometimes I go by my instincts, and it's worked so far. It doesn't mean that it always will, right? Like it's always a gamble when you fuck around and go do that. It's always a big gamble. But leading from that time, that was the last time that I had a drink. And after this past surgery, and facing the fact also that my diverticulitis was definitely a big, heavily influenced from my alcohol abuse. How horrible I felt having part of my fucking colon removed. I'm like, man, how much longer am I gonna keep pushing my body, especially my body? I've pushed it to some extreme limits. And I was humbled by it, you know, I was humbled by it, and back on my thing, you know, working on this daily, and I guess finding my peace in my transparency, man, because if I don't have anything in my closet, it just, even though I might be in a bed full of fucking demons, they're not hiding in my closet. I'm facing them, you know?
Yeah. That's well put. Well put. Are you working a program at all? You ever work with a sponsor? You ever give it a shot?
I haven't done a program. I've done a couple of A meetings online, but I've been doing therapy for almost 2 years. And it's been very, very beneficial, because it's where, as transparent as I am on social media, you know, there's shit I don't put out there too.
Sure.
And with my therapist, I can lay all that shit out there and work with him on a plan of how I can use some of the new tools I've used, like learn to cope and not lose my shit in dealing with these things. And even though it might sound cliche, like when I am honest with my therapist, I feel like lighter, you know. It's not, the world might not know, everybody might not know, but I'm facing this shit, and it feels good in that aspect. And it's still tough. it's still tough, especially for me. One of my biggest things that I still think I'll face in the future are, social things and uh, dating and boundaries. Boundaries. I suck at boundaries. If you've been learning them and you're somewhere safe, I'm like at the fucking starting line. I'm fucking I can't I can't say no to anything almost, It's fucking crazy.
That's all right. I'm gonna drop you my phone number. We'll do some talking about boundaries, man. And I got someone I'm going to introduce you to, maybe help you too. I wish I was out there. I wish we were in the same place, man. You would be the kind of person I'd want to get together with. But hey, boundaries are a motherfucker, but you're going to get them. I promise. I promise.
I hope so, man. And with learning boundaries, I've been trying to, I guess, surround myself more with people, like-minded people. It's hard to find out here. It's fucking hard as hell to find out here.
Sure.
I'm sure it's hard to find everywhere, but it feels hard for me to find out here. But especially considering the fact, like we spoke, I've never taken initiatives to really go to like programs or kind of dabble in local things like that. But online, I've received a lot of support from the sober community, man. Like so much support. So much so I feel like I have just an enormous amount of friends and love and support from people that I haven't met physically, but feels like I'm fucking friends with. Like I'm sure I'm gonna feel with you after getting off today. It's crazy.
Well, there is a saying, you may not have heard it before. They say the opposite of addiction isn't recovery, it's community. And when you start to get that sense that belonging, that, because I mean, hell, there's not an addict in any form. I don't care if it's sex, pornography, whatever drug, alcohol, you go within yourself and you just withdraw from everything. And so when you start to get that community and that stuff going on, where it's, I'm hitting people. I'm kind of more that guy. I hit people up doing the check-in, but I'll get some every now and then from people like, hey, how's it going or whatever. But it is, man, it's a trip. It's a trip. And like you said, the negative things you do, that's like energy out in the world, but you doing the positive things, it's touching and affecting people in ways that you don't even know. So I'm going to introduce you to someone, though, that I want you to meet. I believe he's still in Jersey. So anyways, all right, Mike, we're going to switch modes to some fun shit now. All right.
Cool, bro.
All right. Some random questions here.
Let's go.
If let's say you write a book, since you love reading, and it would be a hell of a story, but they make it into a movie or a TV show, who would you want to play you as an adult?
Charlie Sheen. 100%.
You want someone with experience, huh?
Oh yeah, Charlie Sheen.
Hey, you know what? As someone that's interviewed him twice, I gotta agree. I like Charlie. Go ahead and play me. I don't look like you. Doesn't matter. Just tell my story. Shit, howdy. All right. You're on a deserted island. You have one movie with you and one greatest hits from a music artist or act. What are they?
The music greatest hits. I'm gonna take Tupac, All Eyes on Me. I think he had a greatest hits album. I don't remember. I take a Tupac greatest hits album and the movie Natural Born Killers.
All right. So you can have dinner with any one person, living or not. Who are they?
My cousin Mark that passed away.
Close, huh?
Yeah.
Yep. Did you get in trouble with them too when you were young? Or?
Yeah. We were like brothers, man. We did, we did everything together.
Yeah. Oh, right on. Let me think of one more good one here. It's getting late. My brain. I'm amazed you're still awake. I'm like an old dude, man. I'm 44. Like the sun's down. I'm like, ew.
Well, Red Bull, man, it's my fucking third one today.
Oh shit.
If I don't shut my body down with alcohol, it's fucking this shit, man. I gotta fucking get to something different, something healthier.
Yeah, you got to work on that habit. What's one thing people would be surprised to learn about you? Maybe something you haven't dropped on your social media or don't talk about.
Music. I play the piano, and music production. I haven't done it in years, but and I still play the piano time from time. But music, I'm a music lover. I guess people know I love music, but I love to make music as well, and I'll probably get back dabbling in it in the future for fun. So see what happens.
Man, you got that music thing down. I mean, you just go to a place where there's a piano. The women will come up and talk to you then.
Yeah.
You just throw a couple little, whatever down. I'm telling you, my kids are taking music lessons. I told my son that he was working for a while on Furlies Beethoven song, because it's my favorite Beethoven. I'm like, oh boy, the girls are gonna come up and talk to you. Dad, I don't care about that. All right, whatever. I'll back the hell off, man.
He will. It'll be a nice trick when he's older, and be like, yeah, let me play that one song. Fucking girls will love that shit.
It'll work. Mike, I like to leave the guests with the final words. That's very, the final thoughts. Who was that did that? Jerry Springer had the shitty show, right? And then he would leave them with the final thoughts. It was actually a beautiful thing. But anyways, man, if anyone that's just out there struggling, maybe it's not even with an addiction, substance abuse, but just in general, what might you drop to them?
That you're not alone, man. It's we're all going through it, all of us, even the people with that biggest smiles on their face every day. We're all going through it. We were all put here, to experience life, and we're all going through heavy shit. To me, it's not, no one's going through any more or any less. We're all going through it. Nobody's alone. And what you said to me earlier about, I think you said opposite of addiction is a community, that stuck in my head. And if we look at the human race like that, and we all look at each other and really understand we're all going through it, and we're not alone. We don't need to hold shit in, because I feel like that was what almost killed me. Was I felt like I was alone. I felt like I was alone in this. Nobody could save me. Nobody could get me out. And there's people out there going through the same shit, if not the same shit, just as heavy shit. And there's love out there to fix it. There's support and love and compassion that I believe can heal anything. Don't give up. You're not alone. Reach out. Don't be like me. I didn't reach out, and I was very, very fortunate to have woken up. Most people don't wake up in my situation that I was in. So that would be my final thought.
This is the Knockin' Doorz Down podcast, featuring celebrities, experts, and everyday people who have overcome adversities, including addiction, mental health, and trauma, to live purposeful lives. And that's what Knockin' Doorz Down is all about.
This podcast contains the views and opinions of the Knockin' Doorz Down hosts and their guests to the show. The content here should not be taken as medical advice. The content here is for informational purposes only. And because each person is sharing their unique perspective, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. Views and opinions expressed in the podcast and website are our own and do not represent that of our places of work. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we are sharing is accurate, we welcome any comments, suggestions, or correction of errors. Privacy is of the utmost importance to us. For those wishing anonymity, people, places, and scenarios mentioned in the podcast have been changed to protect confidentiality at the request of certain guests. This website or podcast should not be used in any legal capacity whatsoever, including but not limited to establishing standard of care in a legal sense or as a basis for expert witness testimony. No guarantee is given regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on the podcast or website. In no way does listening, reading, emailing, or interacting on social media with our content establish a doctor-patient relationship. If you find any errors in any of the content of this podcast or blogs, please send a message through the contact page. This podcast is owned by KDD Media Company.